Well, another disaster in the kitchen to start off my morning. I don't know about you, but I do like my breakfast first thing in the morning. The worst thing you can do, if you're trying to lose weight, anyone who's doing some Weight Watching at the moment, the worst thing you can do is miss your breakfast in the morning. Apparently, so they tell me, dears, if you miss your breakfast in the morning, you've got less chance of losing weight. Don't ask me how that works. Apparently, it's something to do with the body suddenly realise it's missing that delicious breakfast that you usually have in the morning and then making up for it by storing all your fat. That's what happens. So you have to have your breakfast in the morning. But today, what I do first thing in the morning, I get my fruit out of the fridge, usually strawberries and blueberries or banana or something like that. If there's been something in the fridge like the strawberries or blueberries or grapes, I'll get them out of the fridge as soon as I get up and chop them up ready in my large breakfast bowl. Okay? Now the reason for that is they don't have as much flavour when they're very cold, do they? Have you ever tried that? Try that. Try that yourself at home. Okay? Eat a strawberry straight out of the fridge, right? And put another one down somewhere, obviously covered over, so that you don't want insects eating it, dear. You don't want insects eating those things, do you, eh? Okay, so just put it to the side and eat the other one in 10 minutes' time, and I'm sure you'll notice that it tastes better because the flavour has been allowed to come out of those little pores in the flesh. It's a bit like us, really, isn't it? You know when you lick someone, they always taste better when they're a bit warm, don't they? Have you noticed that? Oh, I bet you have, haven't you? You've been licking someone's ears in bed, have you? I quite like a bit of ear licking myself, although no one's licked mine for a while now. Anyway, so I've got the fruit out, and I made the tea, and I've got this habit. You know, when I make my tea, I like the tea bag to be left in the cup for a few minutes, you know, at least 5 minutes. And I've got this habit of making the tea, getting the fruit out, and then disappearing up into the Mirable studios next door and dealing with a few emails and bits and pieces. Unfortunately, I often forget what the time is, and then 15 minutes later I might go downstairs and there it is, that tea has been stewed. I mean, it still tastes nice to me, but it has been stewed. Well, today I made the error of also, yes, there is a point to this. I can hear, yes, there is a point to this. Do you mind? There is a point. There's always a point if you just let me finish the sentence. So I come upstairs, and this time what I've done is also taken the milk out of the fridge, right? So the milk's out of the fridge, the fruit's out of the fridge, the tea's in the pot, brewing. Tea's in the cup. I don't use the teapot very much. I've got a little teapot thing with me today. Yes, this was a gift from Sylvie, actually, who works at the steam coach. She's the mother of, and I'll just put that back there. She's the mother of Justin, who owns the steam coach or runs the steam coach. And she bought me that for my, when was that? I think it was for my either my birthday or Christmas, either last year or this year, one of the two. Anyway, so tea bags in the cup. Then I've come and I've also this time taken the milk out of the fridge, so that's ready as well. Now don't get me wrong, the fridge is not half a mile away from the kettle or anything like that. I just thought, well, I'm in the fridge, you know, I'll get the milk out as well this time. So that was it. So I came upstairs, turned on the computer, waited for it to fire up and started doing little bits and pieces on the internet. You know how it is. And you know how, when you're on the internet or on the computer, anything on the computer, a couple of minutes quickly turns into 10 minutes and sometimes a couple of hours. And you look at the clock, oh my God, 3 hours has passed. Well, that's not the case this time. However, quite a number of minutes passed, about 10 minutes. And I suddenly thought, oh my God, you know, the tea is still downstairs brewing. Because I can't actually talk to anyone until I've had a cup of tea. If you ring me, if you've got my phone number and you ring me before I've had my cup of tea, it's very unlikely I will answer the phone. I don't do emergency. The only emergency calls I would do were from my sister. Now, when my sister rings my mobile phone, she has a special ringtone. It's a very powerful ringtone. Those of you that are old enough to remember, it's the old ATV, Associated Television, ATV music that goes da da da, boom boom boom, ding ding ding, da da da, and it's really loud. You can't ignore it. She is the only, and she also had that number, also had that ringing tone. My nephew Gary and my niece Tracy. That is the only time I will answer someone first, and maybe my friend Ron. Okay, I answer Ron as well, but they're the only three people. If I hear that phone making that noise, anytime I will answer it. Okay? Anyone else who rings before I have my cup of tea in the morning, you don't get answered. Now, I used to answer the phone before my cup of tea in the morning, but I was a bit grumpy. I know you find that hard to believe. I'm not known for complaining and moaning about anything, really. I'm a very placid person. Right? I am. But when people used to ring in the morning, I used to, oh, I'll ring you back in a minute. Oh, no, but you, a lot of people don't accept that, do they? You know what? I'll ring you back in a minute. Oh, no, just quickly, can I ask you? No, you know, I said I'd ring you back in a minute. Oh, no, but this is important. I've got a manager who's like that. Yeah. And I said, well, what do you want? Oh, can you tell me how to change a light bulb in or whatever? And you're thinking, that was important. No, I don't think so. So now it's better that I don't answer the phone at all in the morning until I've had my cup of tea. Anyway, we're getting off the subject here. So I came into the office and I'm working away. I suddenly realised 10 minutes has passed. So I finished off what I was doing, went back downstairs, finished off making the tea, put the milk in there and put the milk on my breakfast, which consists of, as usual, a bowl of fruit with bran flakes sprinkled on the top, right? I then poured the milk on that, went into the living room, turned the television on to watch a bit of television. I think I was watching, what was it there? Oh, Dragon's Den this morning, which I quite like, Dragon's Den. Drunk a bit of tea, it was very strong and very nice, thank you very much. Then I started eating my breakfast and the milk was no longer very cold. It had just started going from cold to warm. You know that taste? Wasn't off. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't off, wasn't out of date or anything like that, but it had just started going from cold to warm. And do you know what? It wasn't nice. Isn't that funny? It's a bit, it's kind of the opposite of, have you ever left your dinner for a long time on the table and when you've gone back it's cold and it's horrible, isn't it? It was just like that, but in reverse. So the lesson to be learned there is leave the milk in the fridge until the very moment you are going to eat your lovely breakfast in the morning. Because it's not nice, is it? Warm milk on bran flakes. I mean, it wasn't warm. It wasn't really warm, but it had just gone off cold, if you see what I mean. And a completely different taste. There's an even worse one than that I experienced sometime. Now, I don't eat McDonald's very much. No reason for that. They're always telling us how good it is for. If you speak to anyone at McDonald's, they're always telling you how good it is for you and all this business. I don't eat a lot of fried foods. I try not to eat fried foods. Okay, so that's why I don't go to McDonald's. I go to McDonald's maybe 3-4 times a year maximum. But here's something for you to try. Do you like their triple thick shakes or whatever they're called? McDonald's shakes, which are lovely when they're really cold. Something for you to try, okay? Buy yourself one of those triple thick shakes and let it go warm, or well, not necessarily warm, but leave it for 15 minutes before you drink it. And it is vile. Now, I love, especially the vanilla McDonald's thick milkshakes, as soon as, you know, when you buy them and drink them straight away. But if you leave them for 15 minutes they taste absolutely vile. Has anyone experienced that? Do let us know. There's an email address to the show. It's chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. A warm welcome along to you. This is Chris Reardon. The programme is United Kingdom Talk, our 3 times a week talk show. There's a main website for the show. If you ever want to go and listen to any of the older ones, the website is unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. If you're new to the show, let me tell you, we don't really do anything too serious. Now and again, we touch a little bit of serious here and there, but so usually it's fairly light-hearted. But on a serious note, very sad to tell you, Justin, who I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and his mum Sylv, they lost their dog, unfortunately, today at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, the dog had been, its name was Beau, B-E-A-U. It's a nice name, isn't it, for a dog? Beau, and it was a lovely, I don't think it was a pedigree, it was like a mongrel dog, but really nice temperament. And Justin, he really looked after this dog. Was always having baths and showers, and cost a lot of money at the vet. It always seemed to be something wrong, and he had special food and tablets, and he kept that dog going for years. And he's just lost that dog, so my heart goes out to him. It's always horrible losing a pet. As you know, I lost a cat this year. My sister lost a cat and a dog last year, and I think even more so with a dog, because they're around you all the time, aren't they? They often say dogs are man's best friend, and I'm inclined to agree with that. So very sorry to hear that. And talking of my sister, I don't know if I've told you before, but she is heavily into ABBA, which is fantastic news. Because my sisters are often, she doesn't share much in common with me, I don't think, my sister. If I say something, she'll often take the opposing view. If I mention something on the television, well, can you hear that squeaking? Now, what's that squeak? My chair's squeaking today. Might be time to get a new chair, lads. Oh dear, listen. Can you hear that squeaking? Anyway, my sister often takes a negative view to anything that I suggest to her. For example, if I say, oh, did you see so-and-so on the telly? No, I'm not watching that rubbish. Well, why don't you give it a try? No, I'm not watching that rubbish. Well, what are you watching then? And she'd come out with something like Big Brother, or Coronation Street, or EastEnders, you know, all the trashy television. She loves it. She loves the trashy television. Awful programmes like Big Brother. Terrible load of rubbish. She won't watch any documentaries or anything like, you know, anything excellent like Doctor Who or Star Trek. Nothing like that. She won't even give it a look. She makes up her mind and that's it. She watches the trash. But occasionally we do agree on things. For example, she's at the moment building up her collection of Dynasty. Da 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 I used to fancy someone in that, Stephen. Do you remember him? The one with the blonde hair. But the character changed, and the new Stephen was ugly. Oh, he was ugly. Nothing like the original one. Fancy having a good-looking bloke like that and replacing the actor with someone of dubious looks. It's like this programme. What if one day I replaced myself with someone who was not as good-looking and caramelized? Charismatic, that's the word. Thank you. I heard you shout it out. Charismatic. I could replace myself with someone boring like James Dean, for example. Matineeshow.co.uk he hosts. What if I replaced myself with someone like that? You'd be sitting, you'd be falling asleep, wouldn't you, eh? But one thing also that my sister shares with me is she is a huge ABBA fan. She is a huge ABBA fan, and so I do feel we need to do an ABBA song especially for my sister. So get those tambourines out. Are you ready? Here we go. My mind at Waterloo, Napoleon did surrender. Oh yeah, and I have met my destiny in quite a similar way. The history books on the shelf is always repeating itself. Waterloo, I was defeated, you won the war. Waterloo, promise to love you forevermore. Waterloo, couldn't escape if I wanted to. Waterloo, knowing my fate is to be with you. Whoa, 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 Waterloo, finally facing my Waterloo. My mind, I tried to hold you back, but you were stronger. Oh yeah, and now it seems my only chance is giving up the fight. And how could I ever refuse? I feel like I win when I lose. Waterloo, I was defeated, you won the war. Waterloo, promise to love you forevermore. Waterloo, couldn't escape if I wanted to. Waterloo, knowing my fate is to be with you. Whoa, 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 Waterloo, finally facing my Waterloo. So how could I ever refuse? I feel like I win when I lose. Waterloo, couldn't escape if I wanted to. Waterloo, knowing my fate is to be with you. Whoa, 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 Waterloo, finally facing my Waterloo. Ooh, Waterloo, knowing my fate is to be with you. Whoa, 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 Waterloo, finally facing my Waterloo. Ooh, Waterloo, I know my place is to be with you. There we are, a little bit of ABBA from the other studio. That was clever, wasn't it, eh? You're impressed, but I can tell you're impressed by that. I can tell you're impressed by that little bit of an ABBA song. All right, especially for my sister, who is a great ABBA fan. I don't actually know what her favourite ABBA tune is. Okay, kids, it's email time, boys and girls. Email time. First of all, oh no, just a minute. I bought 2 belts yesterday, one which I'm wearing today. Nice white belt from, and this, I'll just do a twirl, just doing a twirl. Yes, a nice white belt I bought from Peacocks. I bought 2 belts yesterday. I bought one of the, oh my God, my zip's undone. You didn't see that, did you? Oh my God, the zip in my trousers was undone. How unprofessional. Yes, my white belt I bought yesterday from Peacocks, which is a shop as recommended to by my friend Grant. £6 for a belt. It's not leather. It's made in China, and it says polyurethane. What does that mean? It's as good as leather or not as good as leather? I'm not quite sure. But anyway, it feels quite strong and it hasn't snapped yet. Because I'm pleased to announce that my size 36, I hope Ross pads out from rosspatzel.co.uk is paying attention to this, right? Because he found it all highly amusing that I was buying 36 waist jeans, didn't he? Oh, yes. Highly amusing. You have to remember, Ross, looking at your pictures, which do seem to take up the entire piece of paper, no matter what sort of paper I print it on, looking at your pictures, it seems to me that you are short. Okay? Now, I am short, but you look to me shorter and much, much wider, dear. So don't start telling me about my waist, thank you. Anyway, I've had to buy these, a couple of belts, because the jeans were falling down. Oh, yes. And it was just my luck, wasn't it, eh? I bought recently 5 pairs of jeans. Or was it 5 or 6? I can't remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 pairs of jeans over the last few weeks. Size 36 waist, because the 34s wouldn't do up. It'd be just my luck now to lose that extra 2 inches, wouldn't it? And then have to go back. Mind you, I've got size 34 jeans. I'm not throwing them away. I have also got size 32 jeans in my cupboard, yes, which I used to wear when I was in my early 30s. And I live and hope that one day I will be able to fit back in those, and they will be attached to my firm buttocks and my muscular legs. But at the moment, they only go over one leg, just. Terrible, isn't it? Anyway, so I bought this white belt from Peacock's, which is in Bracknell, £6. Gring! Bargain! We like it. You know I like a bargain. £6 for a belt, dear. I'm very pleased with that. And then I was walking back to my bike, right? And I went in another shop called QS. I don't know what does that stand for, QS? Possibly Quick Save, I would guess. QS, Quick Save, I don't know. I thought, let's have a look at the belts in here. I'll buy another one. And I went in there and I found a cloth belt, a nice white cloth belt, right? Ding! Oh, a petal just dropped off my flower. Oh, I've got some nice flowers in front of me today. I've got this long blue one. Is it a Dophelia or something like that? I can't remember what it's called. A long blue flower next to me and some yellow chrysanthemums. The blue flower actually came from my garden. It was great, ever so tall, and it had bent over and snapped, which is a great shame. So I've brought it out of the garden and into here in my little vase in front of me. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So I got another bargain in QS, a cloth belt. Ding! £2. I mean, you can't go wrong, can you? £2 for a belt. But we did have trouble using it. I had to say to the girl to the till, took it to the till, and I said to this girl, if you can show me how this works, then you've sold a belt. And it took her a couple of minutes. She couldn't do it either. Typical girl on the till. You know, she's got these long nails, and she's trying to push this thing through the slot. Eventually she did it. I don't know how it had come out in the first place, but we pushed this thing through the slot and she made another sale of a belt. So there we are. I'm changing my wardrobe bit by bit, aren't I? The email address of the show, once again, is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Right, here come the emails then. First of all, hello to Jeff. Hello, Jeffrey in London, who writes, the new studio set is great. Yes, those of you that watch this show, either YouTube, Current TV, Blip TV, what's the other one? There's a few others. I can't remember the others. The main one, of course, YouTube, will now, by now, know we have we're in a completely different studio, and we have a set. We have a studio set with table lamps, flowers, plants everywhere, a little glass cabinet with different things in. I've got the Dallas hat as sent to me, as sent to me by our cat lover, Susan, who I haven't heard from a while. I hope you're okay, Susan. Where are you, dear? It's all in the glass cabinet, and we change little bits around now and again. Oh, I've got someone at the door. Oh, this is going to be good. I'm going to have to take just a minute. Now, I knew this was going to happen. 1 second now. Stay there. You'll be able to hear all this going on. Morning, mate.
Hello, mate. 2 of them.
Oh, yes, that's my
One of those.
mice.
Oh, right.
Cheers, mate.
Right.
You've got to sound a bit butch when you open the door to the when you open the door to the postman. Oh, now what's this here? This looks interesting. Or a box has arrived. I know what this is. Did you think I sounded quite hard then when I spoke to the postman? Eh? I think it was a little bit put out by my new #1 crop haircut all over. Oh dear. Oh, I'm rushing now, aren't I? I'm rushing up the stairs unnecessarily. I'm not usually out of breath like this. I've got a very interesting looking letter here. Oh, I don't know about this. 1 minute, let's have a quick look at that. Oh, that's all right. That's from the hospital where I went the eye test with. Yes. Yes, he can now be discharged. Lovely. Eye sorted. Eyes sorted. Nothing wrong with them. Eyes sorted. That's one obstacle out of the way. Right. Yeah, I had to. In my box, I've just got a large box for the post. Now, this is the thing. Now, I ordered this from Dabs, DABS.com. Right. Now, I've ordered various things from them, and always the items arrive within the stated time and never a problem. Never sent me the wrong thing or anything. The only thing is, they seem to use very big boxes for small items. Right? Where are the items? Now, here we are. The items are in a small box within a big box. You know, and it just seems a blooming waste of packaging. Anyway, I should have in here 3 mice. Oh, look. By opening this package, you agree that you have read and understood the Microsoft OEM System Builder license. Oh, please. Who reads all that stuff? Do you? Never blooming read it. Right, in this box is 3 optical mice. There we are. From Microsoft. Total cost, I think, of these was about £12. Now, why have I bought 3 mice? I can hear you ask yourself. Well, the other day, hang on, let me get, there we are, 3 mice, in their little plastic bags. Why have I bought 3 mice? You're asking yourself. Is this to replace them all? No. While at work the other day, while doing one of the karaoke nights, I was actually at Blues's in Hammersmith. One of my mice went down. Yes. I had a dead mouse. Hello, I'm a mouse and I'm dead. Yes, we had a dead mouse, unfortunately. But fortunately, from the unfortunately, fortunately, I always carry a spare mouse in the car. Because what's likely to go wrong, the most likely thing to go wrong on your computer is one of the peripherals. Either a mouse or the power pack or something else attached to it is the most likely thing to go wrong. And I always carry a spare mouse in the car, so I've used that spare mouse now. So I've bought another 3, 1 of which will go in the car and 2 in the cupboard. So we have plenty of mice in the house. I mean, some people, they don't like mice in the house, do they? Huh? So that's why I've bought them. You know, always like to try and have a couple of spares in the car. Okay, back to the emails then. Yeah, once again, Jeffrey in London says, your new set is great. Don't get to see every show, but do try. Keep it up. And that's from Jeffrey in London. So thank you very much for that, Jeffrey. Hope you enjoyed the ABBA song as well, incidentally. We don't do much singing on here. It's all very clever. I recorded that in the other studio. Yes. And edited it in. Edited it in. Edited it in. Hello to Mark. It's Mark Foster. Hello, sir. How are you, sir? Yes. Mark Foster, up to north. Or is it are you Midlands or to north? Not sure. Mark says, very bizarre, because he was asking me about how Birmingham, the route to in Birmingham is going on now. And it's going much better since we introduced cabaret. Sorry, it's going better since we dropped the cabaret and started doing karaoke. There's no, so I don't DJ there now on a Friday. I now host the karaoke, and that seems to be working better. Very disappointed because I like working with Cabaret, but you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and that's it, I'm afraid. Mark says, very bizarre about the karaoke, but hey, if that's what it takes to get them through the door, then I guess so be it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You have to give people what they want. If they want the karaoke, so they have it. Complete, of course, with my very own version of karaoke, which includes tambourines, maracas, a triangle, and sleigh bells. Do you know what I was thinking the other day while I was doing the karaoke in Belush's? Wouldn't it be great to have a drum set as well? I could play along the drums to whoever's singing. I wonder how that would work. How much is a cheap drum set? Oh, I could see myself sitting there and playing along to the customers. And even better than that, I have visions. I have a dream, right? And that is to do a karaoke night with a band. So there you would have in front of you all the words to the song, but instead of having like backing tracks on the computer, there would be a band, or even better than that, a very large orchestra. And people would come along and sing their tunes and be accompanied by the orchestra. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Have we got any orchestras watching this programme who might like to go along with me on that one? Huh? Oh, go on, please. Mark says, I'm off to work, by the way. I don't know if I ever told you exactly what it is I do on the railways. Yes, Mark works on the trains because we were having this big conversation about train tickets and all that the other day, weren't we? Huh? Well, Mark is a train conductor for Arriva Trains in Wales. Well, not just in Wales, they travel all over the place, but that's, I think, where they're based. My shifts can start as early as 3:15 in the morning, so I have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning for that shift. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have some shifts that finish at 1:30 in the morning. So he's got a long, you know, it's shift work. I always think that shift work does people no good at all. I mean, I don't do shift work. I just work at night, okay? So my hours are roughly the same, you know, give or take a couple of hours. But for one day to get up in the morning and the next day to get up at night, that must be, I mean, you're in a constant state of not knowing where you are, aren't you? Mark says, I love the job. Every day is different. You don't know if you're going to have an... Excuse me. You don't know if you're going to have an easy day or the day from hell. The only bit that winds me up is the fare dodgers. Yeah, that winds me up as well, actually. I mean, people who dodge fares. You see, I don't understand people who let other people get away with this either. Why don't you just pick up the phone and drop them in it? Because it's costing you money, right? The fact that there are people on the train not paying the fares is the reason that your ticket is a little bit higher than it ought to be. I don't agree at all with fare dodging it. That winds me up as well, Mark. He says, the only bit that winds me up is the fare dodgers. Some of them must think I'm stupid. They either hide in the toilets, and apparently there's a name for those sort of thing within the train industry. People that hide in the toilets to avoid paying fares are called the bog riders. I love it! Bog riders, I love it! Or they pretend to be fast asleep 30 seconds after boarding the train. They must think I've never seen this before. But hey, I take the rough with the smooth, the good days with the bad, and I get on with it. I'm counting the days till I head off to the USA for holiday. San Francisco, Vegas and Los Angeles. Fly out on September the 28th from Heathrow. Oh, you lucky thing. Off to the USA. Yeah, I know, it's talking about people that come up and say things to you and they think you've never heard them before. It's the same as a DJ. The stupid people come up to you sometimes and say, oh, can you put my record on now? We're going in 3 minutes. And they're not. They never go. You always see them there 2 hours later. Oh, I thought you were going in a couple of minutes. Oh, we changed our minds. The things that I've heard said to me all the time. Have you got any other music? No one likes this. And you look over and there's a full dance floor. I said, yes, they do. It's you who doesn't like it. There's no one dancing. I said, can you see them dancing? I had one the other day. Can you turn this record off? It's rubbish. Now, what was the record? It was Shanks and Bigfoot, Sweet Like Chocolates. Not my favourite record, but someone asked for it, so I put it on. Immediately, some girl came on and said, take this record off, it's rubbish. I beg your pardon? Take the record off, it's rubbish. Thank you for the... my reply was, thank you for the advice, but no. See, you can speak to people and not be rude. I wasn't rude. Thanks for the advice, but no. These two blokes who were standing next to me dancing when this girl came on, that was in Blues. When this girl, they were killing themselves laughing. Did you hear what he just said to her? They said, these girls, they stand there in Belush's, which is a straight place. They stand there fluttering their eyelids like it's going to make a blind bit of difference to whether I put a record on or not. I don't think so. So you're right there, Mark. The things that some people say to you all the time, dear me, to try and get a record or to try and get their own way or fool you into something. I mean, but we've all heard it so many times. Mark also writes, like I said, it's cheaper because we're talking about train fares. Do you remember that? And I said, while I was waiting behind the queue when I was going to London a couple of weeks ago, there were two people buying train tickets to another place. One was Wigan. I don't know where the other one was, but they were much more expensive if these people went via London. I couldn't work that out. Anyway, Mark writes, it's cheaper to avoid London on most journeys if you can. But saying that, there are also some good turn-up and go fares on some routes. An example is London to Crewe, which is up north. A turn-up and go off-peak return fare for use on any train is about £62. And it still sounds quite expensive to me, that. But there are some slower stopping services that cost just £20 return. So let's say, for example, someone not in a rush but just wants to go to Manchester from London can buy a £20 return from London to Crewe, and then they can get a train from Crewe to Manchester for a return fare of £14. Total cost £34. That's against a fare of around £68, which is twice that, to go on a fast train. So there are choices. Basically, tell listeners to ask, what are the cheapest fares available? Is it cheaper to break up my journey, etc.? So very, very good advice there from Mark, who's in the train industry. All right, if you're ever buying a train ticket from A to B, then the first thing, go in there straight away and say, I want the cheapest fare to, and is it cheaper to break up my journey? Okay, and you could save half, possibly more than half, what the fare would be. All right. On the subject of travel, if any of your listeners do a lot of travelling or stay in hotels, then I recommend they register with quidco.com. Now that is Quidco. Quidco. Quidco.com. They are a cashback scheme where users click to hotel.com, Expedia, etc. to book their accommodation flights, and they get cashback for using the service. This is a good thing, isn't it? It doesn't cost them any extra to book through Quidco than it would the regular sites, and they can get some huge savings. For example, Graham and I are off to the USA in September. We have booked all our accommodation and flights through Expedia.com via Quidco, and we have just got cash back to the tune of £130, which is about $200, isn't it? So that's I mean, not to be sniffed at. That's a fair old amount of money. You get £10 back via hotels.com, etc., and 8% via Expedia. Have a look and see what you think. Hope you have got over your £40 loss in Birmingham now. Yeah, I have actually. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Now, did I... Oh, just a minute. Did I read this other email out from Mark? Which is going back a bit. I'm not sure if I read this other one from Mark, but this is of interest to people as well. I'll read it again. He sent this one before the last one I just read out. I think I've read your emails back to front, Mark. I meant to be 1, 2, 3. I think I've read 3, 2, 1. Never mind. We'll get them in anyway. Mark also says, I had a good chuckle watching you talk about train fares. Believe me, I could fill a whole hour of your show with weird and strange fare differences for the same journey, different routes, etc. Basically, he says, the earlier you book, the cheaper the fare. Doing a journey such as Bracknell to Wigan will take you slightly longer going to Reading, via Reading or Birmingham, etc., than going via London, but cheaper. There are a lot of restrictions going out of London termini stations with some cheaper tickets. The reason for more expensive fares via London are that part of the cost of the ticket will go to London Underground. Now, I didn't know this. Why is that then? I don't know. Seriously, he said, it's so complicated, but if you aren't in a hurry to go to somewhere, then avoid London. I've worked on the railways since 1994, and it's just such a complicated industry. It would either fascinate or bore you to tears. Now, I find it fascinating. I really do, but the way the fare structure is set up it really is quite complicated. I mean, you need an O-level to understand it. And please don't, Mark, say to me, what is an O-level? Okay? Don't say what's an O-level, I'll come and slap you. Where? But what do you mean where? You'll get a slap for that as well. None of that rudeness on this programme, please, Mark. He says, I always say to people, if the cheaper tickets aren't available, then I would suggest that they look at coach websites, such as National Express or Megabus, but he doesn't like Megabus because I hate the idea of giving custom to homophobic Brian Salter and his evil sister. Are they homophobic then? Allegedly? I didn't know that. Oh, you're very well informed. Are they homophobic? Is that allegedly? You have to say allegedly because that gets us out of the legal rubbish. Megabus.com are part of Stagecoach, as is your local train operator South West Trains. Did you know that Stagecoach also owns a 49% share of Virgin Trains? No, you're getting into the boring bits now. All these percentages and who owns what. We're not interested in who owns what, dear. What we want is cheap train fares, my love. Yes. No, I don't. He says, anyway, I hope you're okay. I've got a little discussion for the show, how television has changed since we were kids. I mean, how camp was Rent-A-Ghost, Supergran, Rainbow, etc. Take care from Mark. Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much, Mark. Yes, allegedly homophobic, that one, all right? Allegedly. According to Mark. Not according to me, dear. I don't know anything about that. Nothing about that. Thank you, Mark. Motorised Millie. Hello, Millie. You all right, darling? She writes, Motorised Millie isn't going anywhere except to the UK to visit you and my other British friends. You won't get rid of me that easily. Because she's had a bit of trouble with the internet recently, haven't you, Millie? Millie. She says, I'm back online. You'll be hearing from me on a regular basis as before. That's a promise. She says, I spoke to my dad, Don, about your strawberry plants. Yeah, because I wasn't sure what to do with all these suckers and that coming out. And he said you could just cut off the runners, or we call them suckers or runners, same thing. That is, the plants that spread out from the main strawberry plant and that wouldn't hurt anything. He said that the only reason not to discard the runners would be if you wanted to start a new strawberry bed. Dad also wanted me to let you know that your strawberry bushes should bear fruit for 3 to 4 years. Hope that helps, and that's from Millie. Yeah. What I did with those runners, actually, is I made more strawberry plants. I've got about one, two, three, four, five, six, got about 7 strawberry plants now, all off that one plant. But the main plant is now on its own. I've cut the suckers off now because all the other ones have taken. I've had 3 strawberries off that main plant and nothing else. And the other ones aren't producing fruit yet, Millie. So I wonder, did I kind of plant them a bit too late? Not sure about that. Do they survive winter, strawberry plants? Do you have to put a cover over them or anything like that? Can you ask your dad that as well? You might not have... We have frost here in the UK in some parts of the winter, and that generally kills anything that's alive outside, unfortunately. Right, now... Oh, there we are. That's the other email from Mark that I missed out there. Yeah, I was going to say megabus.co.uk is very cheap. You can get journeys. It's a coach company. You can get journeys, I mean, really cheap. I think, I'm not sure if that James Dean came down. No, I think he was on National Express, James Dean. But he managed to come from Manchester to London and back again for £2. He says that deal is now finished and it's now gone up to £5. But still, I mean, it's dirt cheap, isn't it? So megabus.co.uk is possibly one to try there as well, okay? Hello to Doug in Akeley, USA, who keeps writing on my Facebook wall, don't you, Doug? Welcome along. He says, I've read a few pages now of Blood, Sweat and Tea. Right, that's the book I was reading, which incidentally I have now finished, Blood, Sweat and Tea. I finished it last night. I've started reading in bed. Just before I go to sleep, I read for about 20 minutes, half an hour in bed. It's quite nice. I get the pillows and I prop them up behind me and kind of lean back on the wall. I've got a little light fixed to the wall. I've started reading, as I say, in bed. And I finished the first Blood, Sweat and Tea last night. But look what's arrived in the post yesterday morning. Yes. Oh, I do love the smell of a new book. Yes. More Blood, Sweat and Tea. Okay, same author. Tom Reynolds. I got this from Amazon. They're very good, aren't they, Amazon? I think they're good anyway. Blood, Sweat and Tea. This one's called More Blood, Sweat and Tea. No, it says more blood, more sweat and another cup of tea. Okay, so that's his second, like, continuation of the first book, and indeed includes more stories of his life on the ambulances. And I can't recommend this book enough. I actually did think of trying to contact this guy and speaking to him on the telephone or something like that about his books, but I didn't bother any. I still might do it. And then, as I say, it really is a good book. Both of these books. So here's the second one, which I haven't started yet. I'm just opening it at a random page. And as I said before, it's split up into sections. As he goes through his days and weeks and months, he splits it up, and it's written like a diary or a blog. Look, there's a little passage here. Slow suicide, this is called. Imagine that you are a 23-year-old. You are also a brittle asthmatic. I don't know what a brittle asthmatic is. This means, oh, here it tells you. This means that you can have asthma attacks that can rapidly progress to life-threatening status. You have been intubated in intensive care unit a couple of times. This is a last-ditch treatment to keep you alive. So, why, whenever you get taken to a hospital, would you treat your disease as a mere annoyance? Also, why would you smoke 20 to 40 cigarettes a day knowing it will make your asthma worse? And it goes on. And that's the general thing in here. He also has a sense of humour. Tom Reynolds has a very, very funny sense of humour. So book number 2 is available as well. I bought that from Amazon.com, as well as something else that caught my eye. 50 short stories. I've bought that as well. 50 short stories. Oh, it's an American book, is it? I thought this was English. And there is a difference between the writing of American books and English books. I bought that other one. What was it now? Who was the writer? It was Donald someone, wasn't it? Or someone Donald. Anyway, and that was a short story American book. And I just didn't get it. I kept reading the stories and I thought, I don't really get this. You know what I mean? You got a book like that? So I'll let you know how that one goes. But looking forward to starting the new Tom Reynolds book there as well. Doug was saying, read a few pages of Blood, Sweat and Tea. Could not believe when he was talking about kids throwing a bottle of pop or fizzy drink at the windshield of the ambulance. Like, why would you do something like that? Listening to you for over a year made it a lot easier to understand what I was reading. Yeah, I mean, it's a good book, but people do that. People throw things at fire engines and ambulances and the police. It's unbelievable, isn't it? People steal things. I mean, we're not talking loads and loads of people, but people do steal things from ambulances. And also, in the first book, Tom often talks about people, you know, when the ambulance has had to park in the middle of the road to assist someone who's perhaps on the way to death. And people are behind the ambulance shouting and screaming at them to get out of the way. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Funnily enough, that happened to me the other day. A couple of weeks ago, visiting Ron, there was an ambulance parked in the middle of the road. There's only one way in and out of the estate that he lives on, so I couldn't get in. So what did I do? I turned the engine off and sat there. And it's no use saying to me, but you might be in a rush for work. That is not as important as someone who's dying and needs help. So don't do it. If there's an ambulance stuck in front of you, do you think it's just pulled up there and turned off its engine for fun? No. So just sit there, turn your engine off, turn the radio up, and that's it. Or, if you feel really nice, go out and ask if they want any help. But remember to lock your own doors, certainly in certain parts of London, or you'll have no radio left in your car. Doug also says, did you ever find out what made that noise during your show? No, I didn't. It was the most strange noise, and it was here in the studio. Don't know what it was. Probably some large insect that's watching me at this moment and waiting to attack. He says, I've only gotten like 30 minutes into that show so far. The wall to the left, he says, is that the wall between you and your neighbours? No. The wall between me and my neighbours is directly behind the Union Jack and the black curtain behind me, okay? One of the reasons for that is that while I'm talking to you, all the sound is projected forward, so minimising any chance that they could hear what I was saying next door. Because the last thing I'd ever want to do is upset my neighbours with noise. I have the most wonderful neighbours here. And I do think it's a shame that people who live in blocks of flats don't, not everyone, but a lot of people who live in blocks of flats, they just don't care. They're not bothered by turning their music up full volume that everyone else in the block can hear it. Everyone else in the block doesn't want to hear it. You know? And you must show concern for your neighbours. I think that's so important. But unfortunately, so many people don't. They think it's their God-given right to turn the music up at all hours, day and night, just because they want to, and it doesn't matter what the neighbours think. I think that's awful. It must be awful to live near noisy neighbours. He said, I love the way you've got everything you've done up. Very camp. That was the whole idea of it. Over-the-top campness. That's what we want. Have you got enough room? I hope you've got enough room to put your feet up. I have, when you want to. You were saying something about having blinking lights. Could put a spot on the mirror ball. Then you would have some light movement on the wall behind you. Not real bright, just enough to see. Yeah. Now, I'll have a look. I think I've got a spotlight somewhere in the garage. So I'll get that out and I'll put a spotlight on the mirror ball and we'll see see what sort of effect that creates, okay? And again on the subject of the book Blood, Sweat and Tears, thanks for mentioning the book Blood, Sweat and Tea. Sorry, Blood, Sweat and Tea on the United Kingdom Talk. I've read about 60 pages of it online so far today, and plan on getting proper copies of both it and the sequel from Amazon. Yeah, that's where I got mine from. Amazon.co.uk or Amazon.com if you're outside the UK. They deliver really quickly, I find. Very good. I've never been disappointed with anything I've ordered from there. Fascinating what these brave ambulance crews and paramedics have to put up with. Violence from people they're trying to help, drivers who object to ambulances blocking the road, and even clowns who throw objects at the ambulance windscreens. Yeah, it's terrible. I don't envy them at their job, but after reading this book, I'm very grateful for them doing it. And that's from Andy. Hello, Andy. Nice to hear from you, Andy. Carl in Yorkshire writes, he likes the new studio. I'd keep it just like that. Maybe some small sound-to-light boxes might work, I suppose. Not so sure about that. Right, because I've noticed, for example, I've got an on-air light next to me. If I plug that in, then the whole thing whites out. I don't know why. If we've got a video, I should ask my video expert, Scotty, who writes, get rid of the plant, Chris, before it wraps around your neck and chokes you to death. Love the new studio set up in a high definition. Keep up the great work, from Scotty. Thank you, Scotty. And I've run out of time. I did have another email here from young Tom and another one from Wayne Anonymous. I'll have to save those to the next show. As always, thanks for watching and listening to the show. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk is my email address. It would be lovely to hear from you. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. See you on the next show. Bye-bye.